In this video, we're going to look at the average cost of books. Earlier, we saw a graph of this function, and now we're going to look at the function itself. So if we have an online printing business that charges $120 to set up the book printing business and $4 in materials per book to print, we want to create an equation to represent the average cost in dollars per book if X books are printed by this business. So first, I need to figure out what the total cost of printing the books would be. So there are two separate costs here. There are the $120, which is a fixed cost because it doesn't depend on how many books I print. Even if I only print one book, I'm still paying $120. If I print 10,000 books, I'm paying $120. So that cost does not change. That's just $120. The cost that does change is this $4 in materials per book. So for each book, I'm paying $4. That means that I multiply the number of books that I print, which in this case is X, by 4 to get the cost of those materials. So if I were to print 5 books, it would cost me $20. If I were to print 10 books, it would cost me $40. Then I add those two costs together in order to get the total cost. So I'm paying $120 plus 4 times the number of books that I print. Now that's the total cost. What I want here is the average cost. So for the average cost, I would want to find the cost per book, in other words. So to get the cost per book, I would divide my total costs, and this is C of X is what they want me to use here. I would divide my total costs by the number of books. So 120 plus 4X divided by X. Now, if I want to calculate the average cost per book to print 50 books, I would plug in 50 for X. So C of 50 is 120 plus 4 times 50 divided by 50. Or 120 plus 200. You can type this into a calculator as well. I recommend using the Desmos calculator at desmos.com, or you can download their phone app to your phone. It works much better than the iPhone calculator on your phone. So 320 divided by 50, that would be $6.40. So if I'm printing 50 books, my average cost is going to be $6.40 per book. Question 3 says, what is the cheapest the average cost per book will get? Explain or show your reasoning. So we saw this in the last activity where we looked at the graph with the horizontal asymptote. The horizontal asymptote tells us the cheapest that the average cost per book will get. But now I want to look at it in terms of the equation. So my equation, C of X equals 120 plus 4X over X. Now I can rewrite this equation by splitting up the denominator and writing it as two separate fractions. So it would be 120 over X plus 4X over X. And then I can simplify the second one because the two x's here will cancel out. And so that gives me 120 over X plus 4. Now, thinking about what happens as X gets bigger, this 120 over X part gets smaller. Because if we divide, say if this X was 1,000, it's going to be a pretty small number. So that would give me, less than $1 to add to my $4. If X was 10,000, that would be even smaller. It would be a really small decimal. So as X gets larger, this gets smaller until it eventually gets really, really close to 0. The 4 doesn't change, it's just 4. So the amount that I'm adding to 4 gets smaller and smaller. It's not ever going to be negative because I'm always dividing two positive numbers here, but it's going to get smaller and smaller until it's eventually just nothing. It's going to be like 0 cents. And so at that point, that's going to be the cheapest that it's going to get. It's not going to ever go below $4 again because that's never going to be negative. But whatever this number is, the constant, the number that's not divided by x, is going to be the cheapest that the average cost per book will get. Another way to think of this is that you're dividing this $120 fixed cost up among the number of books that you're making. And so as the number of books increases, the amount that each book has to take of that $120 gets smaller and smaller. The $4 is the cost per book for materials, so that's not ever going to go away. I'm always going to pay at least $4 for the materials per book. And then question 4 says, how many books should be printed to have an average cost of $8 or less per book? Explain how you know. So now my average cost I'm going to plug in here on the left side for C of x. I'm going to plug in 8 for that and then solve the equation that results for x because I want to know how many books should be printed. So this is plugging in 8 and then I'm going to solve for x. So in order to do that, the easiest way to do it is to get rid of the x by multiplying by x on both sides. That gives me 8x on the left equals 120 plus 4x. And now this is an easy equation to solve. I would subtract 4x from both sides. That gives me 4x on the left equals 120. Divide both sides by 4, and x equals 30 books. So in terms of explaining how I know, I plugged in 8 for C of x and solved for x, and I got x equals 30 books.